Did that just happen? I'm going to ask it again. Did that just happen? Arizona Coyotes win their final game at Gila River Arena in the most insane way possible. We're going to talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I just got two words to share with you guys to start our things off. Chaos reigns.
That it does.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes After Dark, the live post-game episode. Arizona Coyotes in their final game of the season, their final game at Gila River Arena. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We really appreciate your support. We are free and available on all platforms. But what a game, Carl. Arizona Coyotes in their final game of the season, final game at Gila River Arena, come back from a 4-0 deficit to win.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, let's be real. This felt like the Coyote season in a single game because it started really bad and then it suddenly got good at the end.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world is going on? I don't even
I mean, these past couple games, like the Coyotes against the Stars and the Wild, two teams that I think both of us predicted in the past couple weeks would just absolutely annihilate the Coyotes. And like they had reasons to want to win those games, and they still fell. Like the Coyotes are just like, nah, we're gonna play spoilers in the very last minute, and I just kind of love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's the bit, like I've been saying it all week, like, at this point, like, we didn't know what the Montreal Canadiens were going to do. Obviously, the Canadiens did their own kind of weird shit at the end too. But
oh yeah, we can't even
like,
talk about what the Canadiens did, but it was weird shit. Like,
yeah, but
the final Canadiens game is insane. I can only imagine that podcast.
I was like, there's no way the Coyotes are going to get last because the Montreal Canadiens are, like, based off their last games. There's no way they're going to, lose any more games. So just like, so the Coyotes are going to be locked in at 31, and of course they are locked in at 31 now. After the game season is over, I thought to myself, I even asked the listeners while you were gone, Carl. I asked them, I was like, why not just start and stir some shit up, play spoiler, cause chaos, rain hellfire on the National Hockey League, and just make everyone go crazy? And I said that after they beat, after they beat Minnesota, and we were looking at the potential Vegas matchups and whatever, and I was like, I brought that up too, and I was like, but it applied to everything else to end the season, just because, to put on the idea that, they might not get, a team might not get a certain different wild card spot, like, because of what the Coyotes did. They are forcing Nashville to play Colorado in the first round. Like,
yeah. Like, I think it was the St. Louis game where it started to be like, oh, I think the Coyotes are going to screw themselves out of the final, like, 32 spot. If you think that, I do not. Like, this entire season, I have, like, very just been like, don't root for the tank. Just let it kind of happen and kind of accept what happens. And the Coyotes finished the second worst. I'm sure some people are disappointed in that. I have found so much about the past few games that I love, that I think is just going to translate to good things for the Coyotes' future, because like this is a team that we've talked about this year who like don't really like quit at the end, even if they're probably gonna lose. Like there's been games where the Coyotes lost and we're still like, they had a good showing in the past couple minutes. Like they either had like really good possession or they scored like a couple of fluke goals, what we thought were fluke goals, but like it kind of shows a drive. And I want that drive to be with the team when they get better in the next couple of years. And this season is all about the future. And I just love a lot of the building blocks. And I love that the team, like, in this final moment where, like, there's no reason to not win, and they're gonna win, even though they set themselves up in the worst possible scenario to lose.
Yeah, and it's the thing I love about all this is and how they finish is it ties in with what I was talking about the Arizona Coyotes to start the season
Yeah.
and to get ready to wrap up too. And in the middle, everyone has something to prove, and guess what? Everyone who had who felt like they had something to prove to before the season ended, they showed the frick up tonight.
They absolutely did. And they've been showing up the past couple nights too. Like
hmm
I wish they had like shown this much kind of like effort and drive throughout the year. Like I think we could have seen more from especially the veterans. That's been something I've said throughout the season. I think the veterans haven't necessarily been there as much as we need them to be, but I think like so many players stepped up like tonight and these past couple nights, and they're just like, no, we're gonna win. We're gonna win this one. And I think it's something that like we always say, like players don't tank, coaches don't tank, like GMs and front offices, they make those moves. They do the tank. Like everyone on the ice is giving it their like
Yep.
best, or they should be giving it their best, and they really have these past couple games.
I want you to know I credited you with those words when I was doing a crossover earlier this week,
Huh,
because you're right because this team, like, you can tell they want to win games. You could
they
tell they
do.
have that drive in them. It's just that the talent wasn't there, and just somehow they just went. There's like, you know what? Let's just start some shit to end the year.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of like we love that part of hockey. Like the idea of spoilers like just feels like a very hockey thing because it's such a long season and just like the like teams there just kind of like screw things up. Like the Coyotes definitely screwed over the Dallas Stars and the Nashville Predators this week. And I kind of love it. Like
Yeah,
it's just beautiful chaos energy.
yeah. I mean, like, again, I was joking around with some of the other Locked On NHL hosts, and I'm just like, I'm sorry guys, but Locked On Coyotes has officially become an agent of chaos. We are advocating for whatever craziest thing can happen for other teams at the expense of the Coyotes having fun.
Yeah. And I mean, like, honestly, like, I wrote in the preview on Five for Howling that the Coyotes should go into this game knowing that there is no reason not to win. And they gave up 4 unanswered goals in the like first like half of the first period, and it was the most insane thing I ever seen. I'm like, well, this is gonna suck. And then they just came back. Like, I really don't understand like that part of it. Like the lulling your opponent into a sense of like ease and then like having a major offensive outburst is like not been a Coyotes thing like up until this week it seems.
Absolutely, it was awesome. Plus, again, like, and I'll talk a little bit more, look about this more, later in the show. But to end the season on that note, in front of looking at what the attendance was, in front of over 15,000 fans, which is 88% capacity based on what I'm like seeing on here, on the last game ever at Gila River Arena. That is the awesomest part right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was just a ton of Coyotes legends from like all periods of history, like there for the initial puck drop. I am glad to see that like they got to see this too. Like Ray Whitney and Zbynek McCulloch are players from like when I first started watching hockey. And like I love that they got to see the Coyotes like end on a high note, especially against the Predators. Like the fact that it was the first team they played at Gila River Arena when it was, I don't even think it was jobbing.com then. I think it was like
Just
Glendale
yeah, just something like that.
Arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and then it being the final game, like that's some like time is a flat circle stuff, and I just love it.
Absolutely love it. We still got more to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We'll talk more about a little bit about the last game at Gila River Arena, just the time at Gila River Arena, plus just whatever things that we're going to talk about, highlights from the game, all coming up in just a little bit. But first, a quick word from Carl.
So I have a message from our friends at Built Bar, and that's: have you tried the puffs yet? If not, you're missing out on one of the best tasting Built Bars. We all go crazy for the puffs. They come in crazy flavors, like banana cream pie and even churro, two of my favorites. You know I always talk about the banana cream pie, and Robyn always talks about the churro. Who doesn't want a protein bar that tastes like a churro? And they're only 140 calories. If that's not enough flavor for you, then you might want to try the mixed box. The mixed box comes with 12 flavors of bars and puffs. Built Bar makes sure that there is something in there for everyone, and there's plenty of reasons why you would want one. Most Built Bars only contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has about 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. What I want you to do is go to built.com and use the promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com.
So let's continue this episode of Locked On Coyotes live post-game show, Locked On Coyotes After Dark, with Robyn, Leano, and Carl Pavlock, as we break down the Arizona Coyotes 5-4 win over the Nashville Predators. Let's take a look at some of the people who contributed, and again, like 5 goals. It was awesome. I think it was a multi-goal game for Shane Gottespier. I think what they said was his the first of the season. I think it's for him at least, and then
for multi-goal, probably definitely not his first multi-point season.
No, because he had a multi-point game just
he had a
earlier
3
this week.
assist game last week.
Exactly.
And I think it was his 4th of the season. Gottespier,
this has been awesome.
Yeah, just absolutely. Something we talked about before the game began. Gottespier set a point record that went back to OEL in his prime. That is a high point record to reach for the Coyotes.
And let's remember that the Coyotes were paid to take him.
A second from Philadelphia, who, by the way, finished at the bottom of their division, and a 7th. That's just beautiful for, I think, a player that throughout the season, people have been pointing out that Gottespier has more points than most of the players that Philadelphia brought in with that cap space. It's been glorious to see. A player we called for having the potential for having a great rebound season, and he absolutely has.
Absolutely. Gottespier on that high list of players to talk about, but also Travis Boyd, his 3rd straight game with a goal.
Yeah. Let's be honest. I don't think either of us called Travis Boyd as the player to watch for this season. No. But he has been absolutely impressive. He stepped up. He centered the Keller Schmaltz line in a way that I think added a lot to 2 younger players, and he has blossomed into his own phenomenal player. 17 goals on the season. Hang on, let me look this up. His previous career high in goals in the season was 5 his rookie year with Washington in 2018-2019.
Oh, God.
And this is something we talked about. This is an opportunity for players. If you can do it, you're going to get the ice time, and he got it, and Travis Boyd earned himself another deal. He attention, and it's going to be great to watch him.
He did as well. And of course, the two other players who contributed, in Michael Carcone, who's now become the there's some memes out there with the Carcone. I love it.
Carcone!
I love it.
So good. So good.
It was amazing. And of course, the rookie Jack McBain, who gets his second goal of the season and second goal just this week. He has also been amazing too. He has been like the two rookies in Jack McBain and Nate Smith. We're going to talk about them more once we get to the off season. But in just 2 weeks alone, they have been absolute highlights.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't Carcone also a rookie?
Technically yes, because he was he was. Oh, you know what?
He was a.
He was a
I
fun
think
fact for you. He was in the AHL last year for
Yeah.
the Tucson Roadrunners, but under contract with guess who?
Was this the Which one was this? Because I remember
I'll
this
give you an
being a
ex-
weird situation.
all right. It's just to give you more background on this. The reason why he was playing on the Tucson Roadrunners was because the Milwaukee Admirals elected not to play in the COVID year. The Milwaukee Admirals are the American Hockey League affiliate of the Nashville Predators.
Yeah. Oh yes, I remember this. And he came and he had like just an explosive year with the Roadrunners, if I recall.
Yes.
Just and he has not played in the NHL. Like he has 20 games, all with the Coyotes. I think this was his 21st. The stats I'm looking at, I do not believe are updated, but just it's great. Like every player who scored tonight is signed with the Coyotes next year. Like when we started the year, there was like a ton of question marks because most of the team was like pending unrestricted free agents and they weren't going to come back. But the Coyotes have like since like just built with like players who are going to be back, like Gostisbehere, Boyd, who signed an extension, like Carcone, like McBain. Like these are all players who are signed in the future. Like they are going to be part of this rebuild, and it is great to see them scoring.
It is great to see them scoring, and it's great. It gives us hope for that future, right? Yeah, we know that maybe next year is still not going to be a perfect year. It's still going to be there's still going to be struggles, but
Yeah.
these players are they have shown to be extreme highlights. And
Yeah.
I'm loving it. Every minute of watching these young players just freaking grow. It's awesome.
Well, like this season, the Coyotes finished second to last in the league, but we still had phenomenal seasons from Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz, and a
Exactly.
revival year from Shane Gostisbehere, and a good year from Anton Strawman. Like all these good individual performances, like exceeding expectations. We're gonna get that again next year. The team is probably not going to do well overall, but a few players are going to emerge, and they're going to be like the cream of the crop for the year after that. And that's how rebuilds work. Like the players right now who are scoring, like these past couple of nights, are the players that you want scoring. Like honestly, it would have been okay if like a couple of like pending unrestricted free agents scored like these past couple games and won, but that's not necessarily great for the Coyotes in the long term. Like the players that scored like are the players that the team needed to score.
Absolutely. And again, it is that thing that is a sign to the future, to the Coyotes fans, that hey, the future is bright. Keep your heads up, and we'll come out on the other side just fine.
Yep.
We still got more
Absolutely.
to get to on this episode of Locked On Coyotes. We're gonna wrap things up. Maybe talk a little bit more about this game, as well as just talk about a little, just a little short segment of the last time at Gila River Arena. All that coming up in just a moment. But first, I'm going to tell you guys that BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's basketball playoffs and the start to the Major League Baseball season. And of course, let's not also forget the NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, which are going to be starting pretty soon now that the regular season is over. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information from live betting, playoffs, and esports and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. So let's finish things off here, Carl, on this episode of Locked On Coyotes as we take a look at a couple things before we get to the quick bit of Gila River Arena to end this episode. I do want to address one thing that I was going to say in players that stood out tonight that I forgot to mention, and that is Hari Seteri. Like,
Yeah.
he came in after what happened to Karel Milka. God bless his soul. Like, he usually has great games. That is just what happened. But Seteri came in and did what he did.
Yeah.
Like, shut them out the rest of the way.
I mean, yeah, it's great. Like Seteri had a great game in his last outing. He had a great game tonight. He has kind of shown like that he is a like potential candidate for like a backup role in the NHL this season, which he struggled a bit when he first came in. That's understandable. He was claimed at like the very last minute. He's adjusting to different ice, a different team, a really bad team. Let's
Yep.
be fair, a very bad team that was struggling without like one of their like multiple of their best players. Like I think he played well enough, and I think he had like a phenomenal end, and just another player who like seized on their opportunity.
Yeah, especially again, just the last two games alone just puts that as a highlight. You're just like, hey, look, like, I'm still here to play, and I'm proving that I belong in the NHL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a like psychic. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say for sure, but I think like that should earn him a conversation for a contract this year, in a way that like maybe he didn't have based on his first couple games, because we talked about he struggled, and like there's reasons he struggled. It's acceptable, but like there was a couple of saves that he should have made. He didn't at the start of the year, and he made those saves tonight, and he made those like in his last game, which is great.
It is great, and because of the performance, the Arizona Coyotes, and obviously because of all the players we mentioned in the previous segment, were able to come back once again, scoring 5 unanswered goals. Unbelievable.
Absolutely. Like uh, it, again, like I really did not believe it would happen. Like you don't give up 4 unanswered goals and then just score like 5. Except the Coyotes have definitely done that before. Like
There's a reason we nicknamed them the Cardiac Coyotes.
yeah. And there's a reason that has stuck throughout the years.
Yes.
Uh, I was trying to remember like the Ottawa and the Detroit games where the Coyotes like came back from like insane deficits, but like this was one for the books where you're just like, what? How did they do this one? And how did the Coyotes want it more than the Nashville Predators, who were playing for like freaking playoff position against the Flames or the Avalanche?
I know, right? Like, that's what really astonished me the most. He's like, "Oh my god, like, do they really want this?" Like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, like the Coyotes out there playing for pride, the Predators playing for playoff position. And I get like both Calgary and like Colorado are two good teams, and they
Mhm.
both start with C's, which makes it very difficult to say back to back. But still, like I expected like better. You were up 4-0. How do you give up 5 unanswered goals against the second worst team in the NHL?
Unbelievable, unfreaking believable. Let's reel this back a little bit now. because after 19 years at Gila River Arena, the era is now over. Um, Carl, obviously, you're a longer term Coyotes fan than myself.
Yep.
How are you feeling now that this era is over?
I have a lot of mixed emotions because they were showing a lot of whiteout footage, which is something that we just haven't really talked about recently. The last time the Coyotes were in the playoffs, it was in the bubble. Like there hasn't been a whiteout in so long. And I remember going to the last whiteout game in like in the Gila River Arena when I think it was still Chopping.com Arena at the time. And that brought up a lot. I was not expecting to feel this like retrospective and nostalgic like during tonight's game, and they showed like a lot of memories. Like there was a lot of players on the ice where I'm like, oh, I remember. Like that is so much of the Coyotes for me. Like the players who were like there for the first puck drop, and a lot like I have been very involved in the Coyotes, writing about the Coyotes the past couple of years, and it's a lot of memories.
It's a lot of memories, and it's awesome. It's awesome. And later next week, we were going to share some memories from some of the fans. So had some great submissions, and I got a chance to talk with some of you guys last week when I was over at the game in St. Louis. And again, like memories are awesome. Like especially when they're personal, right? And and that's what I think that's what's awesome. That people are out there sharing these things, and that they're living these memories. Trying to remember them as the Coyotes move to the new chapter, because Gila River Arena will still be around, but the Coyotes will not be there.
Yeah,
And I think it's again, it is that bittersweet moment, right? Because you're like, you're glad that they're leaving a city that did not want them, but
yeah,
again, 19 years there, that's just a lot of time there to kind of build up so much.
yeah. The history of the Arizona Coyotes and Phoenix Coyotes in Glendale is the history of the West Valley and the city of Phoenix as a whole, like in the past 19 years, because it represented like a moment of promise. I remember I moved to Arizona in 2000, and for the longest time everyone thought that the West Valley was going to be this booming metropolitan area and it was going to be where all the growth was, and that really shifted after the Coyotes moved there. And everyone has talked about like what if the Coyotes had moved to Scottsdale or the East Valley. Like it is great, one of the biggest what ifs in sports history, because it is the story of demographics in a city. You cannot talk about the Coyotes if you do not understand Phoenix. It is one of the biggest frustrations with talking to people on Twitter about this who just are out of state or out of country who don't understand. You're like, no, there is so much here and you just don't get the nuance. And yeah, it's a bittersweet ending. And I'm just glad that it ended positively. Like
Mm-hmm.
on the ice. Like that was great to see the Coyotes beat the Predators. Like just a phenomenal end of like the game itself. And we can just
Yep.
focus on the game and say it ended well.
Exactly. That's the most important part, and that's what I was really hoping for too. Because of all the crap that they've been going through, I was thinking, it's like, but you know what, like I think what I want to see is I want to see the Coyotes end this season, end this poor season, end this tenure with Glendale and all the stuff that they've gone through with a win. I think
Yeah.
that would be just so important for them, and it would just feel so much better if they did that. And when they did, I was like, yes, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. And what a win it was. Like that come from behind, completely undeserved if you're only considering the first period, but like just a weird comeback where you're just like, oh, they took 20 minutes off, but they came in behind in the end. Like, perfect Coyotes encapsulation.
Absolutely. It was the let's put it this way, it's the reverse of the second period collapse.
It was a first period collapse, and then, as we've seen, and as we've talked about, the Coyotes are decent at recovering, and that speaks to good coaching. And I think that's something we're going to be talking about a lot, like next month. Like the positives are like the Coyotes have a good foundation in place, and it's with the players that we've talked about, and it's also with the coaching and the like general management staff.
We'll definitely have a lot of that kind of stuff to talk about as we reach the off season. Off season content for Locked On Coyotes is going to be packed, everyone. So watch out for that.
Yep. Yep.
Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this special live episode of Locked On Coyotes After Dark. As once again, Arizona Coyotes take down the Nashville Predators. Final game of the season. Final game at Gila River Arena. Final score 5-4. What a game it was. That's going to be it for today's episode. Hope you guys liked what you heard. If you did, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We are available everywhere that you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, on Instagram at LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. Carl Pavlock is Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask the question you might have, and we might answer them right back on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. And as a reminder to some fans out there, there's still time to submit your favorite memories of Gila River Arena. You can send them as a voice memo or a paragraph or a video or whatever you want to lockedoncoyotes@gmail.com. We'll use those for the future episode when we do the memories of Gila River Arena. Anyways, thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.